I'm DANI COLL from Dynatrace Barcelona, and I guess most of the people that is here is a front-end developer. So I have a question for you. Would you like to code in the back end of your company? Raise your hand, whoever wants to do that. Okay, some people raise their hands, not so many. I guess the people that didn't raise their hands, they are half enough with the front end. So maybe you also heard about people saying that full stack development is only for small companies. Big companies don't offer that possibility. They have their own department split it away, front end from one side, back end from the other side. So I did a bit of research. I opened LinkedIn and looked at the offers, and this is what I found. Senior full stack developer, full stack, full stack, full stack, full stack, full stack, full stack, full stack. So that's simply not true. Big companies are also looking for full stack developers. Does that mean that you need to know everything? I don't think so. I think as a front-end engineer, if you know the basics of the backend or DevOps, it will help you a lot to grow in the career. And the failure to do that, it can be a limiting factor. Knowing the big picture of the full stack ecosystem can help you deal with challenges that you face daily. For example, when you deal with repetitive work, you can take that opportunity to gain some full stack knowledge. For example, let's take a look at this pull request. It has a commit that it looks like I forgot to add my Jira ticket ID. Also, there is a nitpick comment about the naming of the variable not being okay. So instead of going over and over every week and every PR, commenting small things and doing manually changes on it, what you can do is step up and optimize those processes. So you can, instead of adding the Jira task ID on every commit, you can instead automatize it on your pipeline, so you have a script to auto-check that the Jira commit is there. Instead of suggesting code styling on the PRs, you can add a custom SRIN rule to automatically check it on the pipelines as well. Instead of updating the libraries manually every time, you can take advantage of tools like the Renovate bot to automatically update it as well. Another challenge you might be facing is to identify the scope of features. For example, let's take a look at this dashboard. It has 4 charts, and each chart has its own theme. If we take a look at the API, what gives us is a list of dashboards, tiles, chart configs, and themes. This is a bit weird format because everything is scattered around, and we would prefer an object that has everything nested, like the dashboard tile, nested with the chart config, and inside the theme. So we might be tempted to do this transformation in the front end if we don't have backend knowledge, but this is a transformation that everyone who uses the API could benefit on it. So why not do it there? Here another example. We have a text input. Whenever we type, we have a list of suggestions, and sometimes we are typing the same thing than before, but as we can see, even that we are typing the same thing here, it's taking a couple of seconds to load the suggestions every time. So your super smart PM might ask, hey, why don't we catch this into the front end? And you would say, okay, we could do that. We could try to create a database in local storage, so for each key we have its according suggestions, or maybe we could take a look at the big picture and see what we have in the backend. So in the backend, we have our client, that request from the API, then we query the database, and we return the data. So that's pretty simple. Why don't we add a caching system on it? So this can increase the performance of those requests from 2 seconds to 200 milliseconds, so no longer complaints about the slowness of the app. So that's it. You don't need any change in the front end. Another challenge, you can take the opportunity to have more impact as a full stack is when integrating. So who has had this kind of exception on their lives? Cannot read properties of undefined when coding. Okay, some people, me as well. So it looks like in here we have an object that should have a property that is called theme, but instead it says undefined. So we take a look at our TypeScript code and we see, okay, graph chart settings, theme, visual config contains graph chart settings. So everything looks fine. The graph chart settings, it cannot be undefined according to this. So what's happening? Yes, what is happening is that this is the types at compile time, not at runtime. So it looks like we have something different at runtime. Why is that? Because the backend has a different type. In the backend that is written in Java, it has this check for null, which stands for the property being nullable. So it looks like our front end and our back end are not synced together. How can we solve that? We have plugins in Gradle that auto-generate the TypeScript code from the Java code, like this one you see in the picture. This is nice, but we still have a problem here. We can take this opportunity to sell our product, sell the JavaScript ecosystem, because I guess many people in the room don't like Java much, so why instead don't advocate for using tools that we know, tools that are more common to the front end? So for example, here with Next.js, we have our front-end part, which is displaying the chart and receiving the chart settings. And on the right, we have our API with the chart settings as well that are sent back to the front end. And with a tool like tRPC, we can automatically sync both applications. So as long as we change something, at the same time, instantly is reflected into the front end. So no need to run scripts, no more out of sync between front end and back end. To finalize, we can put the cherry on top. We can also advocate for security. As a front-end engineers, we are dealing with the front-face part of the application. So we are exposing most of the API, and there might be some vulnerabilities. So we can take the chance to try to find those vulnerabilities. For example, we could find a data leak of stack traces. There could be some way to do SQL injection to the API. Also, this other example is in Python. We have an endpoint that exports the tenant data, and it's receiving a tenant as a query parameter. So you build this way the new URL that it's redirected from the original one. This code has a vulnerability. I don't know if you are able to see it. And maybe, yeah, some of you might be right. This tenant string is not sanitized, so you could put whatever in here and redirect this API to your website. So opportunities like this, you can use them to gain context of more knowledge than the front end. So to conclude, I would say that you don't need to understand the whole full stack ecosystem, but knowing a bit of everything can help you gain in your career. So slowly, when opportunities come, you can lead, you can try to overcome those possibilities by getting knowledge on it. So as soon as you think, and whenever you realize it, you will have become the Jenkins reference of your team, the security advocate of your team, the back and right hand, the one who collaborates with them, the one who has the more context, and knowing all of this will help you a step ahead in your career and advance. Thank you very much.